You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I am really excited to be here with you for another episode of the African Father in America podcast. We are live streaming across multiple platforms from AMP, which is an Amazon-owned audio app that is, that is really incredible. It's only available in the US, so I'm one of the early users of that app. But YouTube is my main platform, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and also, give this video a thumbs up so that we can continue ensuring that the YouTube algorithms know that this show exists. But importantly, we want you to share your comment down below so that we know your perspectives on our conversation. And then to all who are joining us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on X, Twitter is currently known as X, by the way. So no matter where you're joining us from, I just want you to meet my incredible guest, Linda Orlando Okoth, who is joining us all the way from Kampala. Linda, say hello to our guests today, briefly.
Hello, how are you? Lovely to meet you guys.
Excellent. So Linda is an author and also an architect. We'll be talking a lot more about her story because she's one of the authors featured on Remembering the Future. This is a book that I have been promoting and interviewing a number of the authors who are part of the project. So if you want to get a copy of the book, go to ugandamemories.com. But for now, I want to bring us to today's proverb. Our proverb today takes us all the way to Ivory Coast. Two flavors confuse the palate. Two flavors confuse the palate. What does this proverb bring to your mind? I want you to share in the comments. I want to share 3 nuggets of wisdom around this proverb and then get Linda's perspective around it. The first nugget of wisdom around this beautiful Ivorian proverb says that don't be afraid to say no. Wow, for me, it's one of the difficult things to do, but I'm learning to not be afraid to say no. But then this nugget continues to say that if you have too much on your plate, it's okay to say no to new commitments, because everybody is always fighting for your time, So it's your choice to say no and to say yes to the things that are most important to you, because at the end of the day, it's your time that you're giving away. Number 2, learn to prioritize, make a list of your goals and priorities, and then focus on one thing at a time. And then this will help you to stay on track and avoid feeling overwhelmed all the time, which we all deal with. We all deal with overwhelm. Number 3, take breaks. When you're feeling overwhelmed, take a break and step away from your work or whatever it is that is causing you stress, and also do something enjoyable. A lot of the time we've trained ourselves that, let me just put in so much work, 14 hours a day, and take 10-minute break. Your body will break down. If you don't give it breaks, it will break down, So those are the 3 nuggets of wisdom from our proverb today. But I want to bring on Linda, who is going to share her own perspective on this proverb before we continue with our conversation. Linda, share your thoughts on this Ivorian proverb.
Thank you. So it's interesting listening to you and your take on it. And I was like, oh my God, I hope I didn't run away with it. My own take is that I think it speaks to being integral. Like there's this saying in the Bible that says, "Let your yes be yes and let your no be no." Like pick a side and be consistent. Be consistent there. Pick a path. Take a path and be consistent in that path. So I think for me it has applications to do with, like, say, value systems or ideology or faith. Yeah. So whatever it is that you believe, like let it be integral in all of it, in every aspect of your life. If it's your food lifestyle, if it's your things to do with relationships, let it be integral. Let it come through. Let it find expression in every part of your life, and then I think your results will be clearer or like tangible. I think so. For me, that's what I take from it. So for me, the palette is like life. Life is a palette. So what energy are you giving? Is it consistent? Is it integral? So it will give you back, yeah, its fruit in its purity. Yeah, that's what I think about
I love
about
that.
it.
I love that. Pick a side and stay consistent. And let it be integral. I love that. Those will stick with me for a long time. Those words. For those who are meeting Linda for the first time, Linda Akoth Orlando has lived most of her life in Kampala. She went to Makerere University and has been an architect for over 10 years. When I was reading your bio, I was just smiling, and luckily I have also been involved with the development of a documentary where you're one of the main characters, and I've just been so proud of who you are, and how you're representing, our sisters and our mothers, and you're just breaking the glass ceiling. But I know that your story started somewhere, and I normally share with my guests that my mother, at the age of 8, my mother asked me to help her distribute milk and bread in our neighborhood, and she gave me a bicycle. And then I began my entrepreneurial journey. I began learning how to build relationships, how to do business, and how to grow my network, and to build something like the podcast that we are in today. So take us back as well. Take us back to a time when you are 8 years old. Share with us a story that really makes you the kind of leader that you have become today.
Okay. Um, I wouldn't say a very specific turning point in my life as a young person, but it was a series of the same thing. I actually attribute the person that I've turned out to be and the choices I have made to my father, to my dad. So we are five. I have four siblings, so there are five of us, and there's only one boy, my brother. The rest of us are girls. And of course, at the time that we were born, as tradition has it, most of the generation of my parents, it was preferred that you have more boys than girls, because the idea was that it would be more profitable, if you will, profitable, or yeah, and in terms of extending the lineage, there was more value. So what my dad did with us was like, no, I'm not, and I wasn't aware of this. Of course, I'm finding out about this now. Um, he decided to go at it differently. So from the time I can remember, my dad was a fan of martial arts movies. We grew up on Jet Li movies, Bruce Lee movies, Van Damme, Karate Kid. Those are the kind of movies we grew up watching with my dad. And unfortunately or fortunately, I can't say the relationship we have with our dad, with the girls at least, with the dad is a princess daddy kind of relationship. No, it was more like because for him, those were opportunities, for teachable moments, if you will. Yeah. So he was always saying, so you see how during the movie he would be like, so you see, this guy has tried this and that and he has failed, but look how he has gone back. He's training again. He's coming back. He's gone back to the drawing table. And then he has come out a victor. So for the longest time, he has always inculcated in us that you can do anything. You can be anything you want to be, just so long as you don't give up. And if you experience any kind of failure, it's only for you to go back, to draw back, and then do things differently. So from the time we were young, he was always telling us, you can be anything you want to do. You can go anywhere in the world. You can be in fact, I wanted to be a pilot before I was serious about it. And he encouraged us. So that has always been his attitude to this day. He's always telling me that, Linda, you should go to Dubai and practice from there. Start up a farm there, you can do anything. So it is so actually when I grew up, I had no idea that there was such a thing as women being disadvantaged because of their gender. For me it was like the most normal thing. It was actually in my, like, after campus, when I started hearing these conversations around women rights and equality. For me it was very alien because that is not the way I was brought up. I didn't know that there was such a thing even to begin with. It was like the most normal thing, to be given equal opportunity to, yeah, to be whoever you want to be.
I love that. Here in Seattle is where Bruce Lee grew up, and he was buried here. So from time to time, I have friends who visit Seattle from Kenya, from Ethiopia, and the first place they want to go to is to the graveyard, the grave site of Bruce Lee, to pay homage, Yeah, and I remember one of Bruce Lee's quotes where he used to say that we should be like water, so that in any kind of situation we change and we adjust accordingly, because when water is in the cup, it takes the shape of the cup. When it's in a bottle, it takes the shape of a bottle. When it is, in the freezer, it freezes like ice, but it's still water, yeah. So I wanted you to have a copy of the book, Remembering the Future, nearby. And because I want you to, Remembering the Future, I want you to just speak to what it means to you to actually touch that book and be a part of it. And because not everybody is able to bring their ideas and write it out and get it published. People dream about it, but here you are with a group of incredible writers, hilarious. Some of the authors in this book, I've just enjoyed interviewing all of you. Talented, gifted, unique, and I want to hear from you. Why has this been important to you? And then I want you to speak, maybe pick your favorite excerpt from your chapter and just read it to our viewers and our audience members who are listening and watching.
Absolutely. So I think the question starts from a time in my life when I began to ask the question, if I die today, like, what good would my life have been for? And the moment I started asking that question and searching for purpose and, pursuing what I feel is my God-given destiny, a number of years later, because this happened, actually it happened because I was busy trying to make more money. I was doing a side gig, and we were traveling to another city, and we almost died in a crash. And at that time I was like, my God, if I died today, then what will my life have counted for? What impact would I have made? So this opportunity to be a part of this book came really, I don't know, it was a perfect opportunity. I know it is a point in my destiny as I continue with this life. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a writer. I'm first an architect, then a writer later. So the opportunity I got to work with, first of all, real professional writers, really talented people, that was awesome. And moreover, concerning a topic and a subject matter I feel is very critical for the generation that I represent, and the generations that are younger than I, that is the millennials and the Gen Z, because you see, we happen to be at a time where we are crossing into and are at the start of a future that promises and threatens to be very, very full of surprises. Let me put it that way. We've heard of the fourth industrial revolution, which is a future in which we are stepping into, and it is disrupting a lot of things from our work culture to our lives, and there's never been a time where it was important to look back at where we are coming from, so that as we go into this future, we are grounded, because when you start to talk about the Internet of Things and AI, and that very thin line between physical reality and virtual reality, and it's so porous, you need something to ground you. Yeah. And I feel like the experiences that such as COVID, what COVID really was teaching us as a human race was like, people, could you just first pause, take a moment, reflect on what it means to be human, what it means to, what things are the most important to you, because the world we're stepping into, things are changing faster than we can, adjust to them, and professional skill, there's a threat for the professionally skilled people to be wiped away and become irrelevant. So the question is, what makes you human? What makes us human? What makes us special? What makes us relevant? And this book, Remembering the Future, because it's a catalogue of stories from people who have been here before us and have had the opportunity to observe our society in terms of the economics, the social aspects of it, the spiritual aspects of it. So they can be able to share with us these stories, and that in so doing, in listening to these stories, we by ourselves can discover what matters, what makes us, what we need to be able to thrive in this new future, and and what not to go with, of course, because nothing is perfect, but you pick the best of what from the past, for the purpose of grounding you and pointing you to who you are, to your identity, to the question of your identity outside of your abilities and capability and even gender. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah.
This is such a great opportunity to have that discussion.
Yeah.
That answer.
It's incredible. It's incredible the way you responded to that. But I just want to recognize quite a few of our friends and family and fans have joined us for the show today, especially on YouTube. I see Kristen Conte joining us, and this means a lot to me. I don't know if you know who she is, Linda, but I'll tell you after this show. It's incredible that she has joined, and she left a comment. She's saying, I love Linda's interpretation of the proverb. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. And then Stella is also joining us from Kenya, and she says that the palate indeed gets confused by two flavors. And we have so many other comments. I want you to continue commenting and sharing the link to this show, and also subscribing. You have to subscribe, because I learned that, over 75% of people who are watching this show are not subscribers. They just love it, but they don't subscribe. So I want to bring that down to at least 50%, maybe by the end of the year. And you can help me, you can help me by subscribing now to help me, increase the number of people who are watching and are subscribed. Now, I just want Linda to take space now and share with us. Linda is going to read from this book that I've shared on the screen there. If you can see my screen, Remembering the Future, Reflections on Ugandan Culture in Changing Times. I want you to take a minute and go to ugandamemories.com, where you can get a copy of this book, to ensure that, authors like Linda and all the other authors who are featured on this book can continue publishing. And also, if you want to get a copy of the book, you can actually go to Amazon. That's where you can get a copy right now, or you can go to Ibua Publishers in Uganda and you can also get a copy. But let's hear from Linda, who is one of the authors. Let's hear what Linda has to say in from the excerpt that she's going to read for us.
Okay, so my chapter was titled Goria Ubuntu, and I spoke to my granddad. He's the oldest patriarch of our family right now, and of course I was coming from a place where I have made observations on the issues that we have with gender wars, the feminine, the masculine, and what role is this this gender supposed to play, and the question of equality, and it just seemed like there was something that was suffering in the question of in the question of our relations in society amidst this this war, this contention. There was something else. There was a more important discussion. And so, of course, I took these questions to my grandpa, and I'm just going to read an excerpt, pieces of excerpt that sort of come together to just give people a feel of what the chapter is about. Okay, so here goes. It was a time, he says with a chuckle, that his daily apparel consisted of little more than a loincloth. Not like the napkins, diapers you people talk of. As I listened to the old man's account, the scenery before my vision fades to hues of black and white. The modern houses slowly morph into grass-thatched houses. The trees dwindle in size and stare back at me with their lips shut. Kwara Asan recalls a time when he was 12 that his father Onyango Thomas gave him a good smacking on his bare bottoms because he had attempted to dodge school. The old man might have been assuaged since his son was trying to attend a community church service, but the underlying reason for his transgression eliminated any possibility of easy redemption. He was curious about the nature of the blood that ran through the veins of the white missionaries. Was it as green as the veins he noticed through their skin? His father had no time for such nonsense. My grandfather and I now survey the results. The compound now consists of 10 cottages, the latest ones reaching the outskirts of the family land. Just as my grandfather said, families in old times expanded to become villages. I look at the umbrella trees in the compound. They must have seen much over decades running up to this time. Silent witnesses of the comings and goings of the family, and the man who has become its overseer. Thinking about the many people who had shaped what I see, I picture a team of acrobats forming a human pyramid. My grandfather and his brothers climbed on their father's shoulders. When they finished school and got jobs, they pitched in to educate their siblings, who took their place in their structure, each of its members supported by and supporting one another. Ubuntu. Finally, I raise the question that brought me here in the first place. What does the patriarch think about the troubled relations between men and women today? His answer may satisfy neither advocates of feminism nor believers in patriarchism. In my day, he starts, and so on and on.
I love it. I feel like we should have an audio book for remembering the future and have you read it,
Oh,
yeah, great job. And
well.
yeah, you did a good job. And also I've read your chapter, I've read almost 90% of the book, and I just love your chapter. And as I was saying earlier, this chapter is a subject of a documentary that I am part of the team that is working on. So it's exciting. It's exciting what Remembering the Future, the book, is bringing together. And so if you're watching the show right now, or if you're listening later on, I want you to take a moment, go to ugandamemories.com, learn more about the authors. There's a blog there. That's the website for the book. But if you want a copy, go to Amazon, look for Remembering the Future, and then get your copy. If you're in Uganda, go to what is it called? Let's find out. Ibua Publishers. That's how you can get the book in Uganda. Linda, you are a Luo from Uganda and I'm a Luo from Kenya, and so when I'm just happy that we connected, because I always want to connect with all the Luos from the different corners in the world, and then Ubuntu, huh?
That's Ubuntu.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I really feel like this is a full cycle moment. Watching Kwara-san, listening to you consult him. Your story is about you leaving Kampala and going back to the village, not to write this chapter of the book by yourself with your knowledge led by your ego, but to go back and consult your elder, and then your elder consults the ancestors, and then the ancestors consult their ancestors. So I feel that the approach that other authors also have is similar, where they tap into something bigger than themselves, and that is really, really beautiful to see, especially in the current times that we live in, where everybody seems to know everything. If you go to YouTube, they're experts in everything. So it's so important that through this book we learn how to go back and consult with our elders, our families, our ancestors, so that the answers we give are not just our own answers, not just our answers from the universities we went to and things like that, but they are complete and I don't even know the right words, but endorsed by our elders and our ancestors. Now I want you to share with us maybe one comment addressing a question or something that you really wanted to talk about that I have not asked you, and then share with everyone who is listening and watching how they can stay connected with you after today's show.
Okay. I think for me, it's both a comment and both a reflection and I guess a question that may not even be able to be answered right now. Because for me, coming away from this project, because for me it felt like a rite of passage doing this. Yeah. And of course, my question is like, okay, so we have this ideal, Ubuntu, being your brother's keeper, and of course having sort of like reviewed just how far it had been explored in my family. And that's not to say that it was done perfectly. Like, there is no perfect story, and there is beauty and there's beauty and ugliness in everything. So what do we take from we take the best of something and build on it or make it better? And for me, when I was just reflecting about this whole concept of Ubuntu, I realized that Ubuntu is irrelevant when you are in a context of the same people. I don't know how to put it. Let me give you an example. In Kampala City is a metropolitan city, in the sense that we have people from different tribal groups around the country living in the same melting pot, working there and living there in Kampala. So for example, say if I'm driving and a cop stops me and finds out, a cop who is Luo, and finds out that I'm Luo, they're going to be good to me. They're going to help me out. They're going to be, they're going to extend Ubuntu, towards me. But if I meet that same cop in my village town in Tororo, that may not necessarily be the case. In fact, for me to experience Ubuntu now in my hometown, I would have to meet a relative in the hometown and be like, oh, this is our relative, so let's treat them well, let's do them for this. And then again, when I take it further and take it home, then it might come down to literally my blood, my brother, my sister from the same mother and same father. So for me, my question was like, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, Simon. You're in the United States of America, so every time you meet an African from back home, there's that kinsmanship, that kindred, that you experience. That is Ubuntu. So my question comes, because we're at a time when we are trying to reconcile this issue of racism. So the question is like, so how does Ubuntu play out in such a case? Do we need to go to another planet? No. So it leaves a lot of place to explore. Yeah. And yeah, for me, I find that interesting. And as for reaching me, finding me, I can't say that I'm a social media creature. However, I can be reached on ugandamemories.com, which is where the book is being marketed from, and I think also distributed from, if I'm not sure. Yeah. So I don't know. That's it from me.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda, for taking your time, for sharing your wisdom, and to everyone who has been watching the show today. Thank you for joining me and my incredible guest. Make sure you get a copy of the book from Amazon or from Ibua Publishers in Uganda. I see that Stephen Okoth, who was in Uganda with you, also joined us for the show here, and he comments here and says that, happy to see you, Linda. It was nice working with you in producing your documentary Ubuntu. And also says you remind me of Kwara Hassan. Nice. If you're just joining us for the show, make sure you also leave us with your comment. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And Linda, it seems you wanted to say something in response to that comment from Steve.
Oh, from Steve, it was absolutely same here. Wonderful. And we can't wait to see the product of that of that documentary. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Stephen.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. And again, thanks to everybody who made this possible. I will be here again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Friday before we wrap up all the shows for the week. I'm incredibly grateful for your love and support. Linda, have a nice evening over there in Kampala. This Sunday, I'll actually be having Ugandan food here on Sunday, Yeah, so we have a Ugandan chef who will be making food for us. There's a dinner series that we are doing. It's called Taste of Madaraka Festival, and it's happening every third Sunday of the month. So every third Sunday of the month between September and March, we have a different chef from a different part of Africa, So September is a Ugandan chef. Her name is Regina Bukenya. And then October, we have a Kenyan chef. And then November, we have a Ghanaian chef. And then December, we have a Zimbabwean chef. And then January, we have an African-American chef. Then February, South Sudanese. And then March, we have a Nigerian. And then all the enjoyment is over. But
is it it's a private thing?
It's just for like 90 people, I produce the biggest African festival in the US. It's known as Madaraka Festival. And this is a smaller version of it where we bring the sponsors of the bigger festival, the community members that help make it happen, the musicians, the partners. So it's a way for us to break bread and plan, but also just enjoy authentic African food, which is very rare here, some people travel 8 hours just to find an African restaurant, you know. So we want to make our great food more accessible, you know.
Wow, now I know where to come next time.
Yes, when you're in the US, this should be your first stop. Okay, Linda. Yeah, take care.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank you
making the
so
time.
much. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, bye.
you. Bye-bye.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle,